Hello everyone, today is the discussion of the left brain versus right brain and how our society is hopelessly left-brained. So I came across this Veritasium video where they were talking about building analog computers and all of these different algorithms and AI and sensing body movements like this with real-time video capture and all of these things for VR purposes, and I just couldn't help myself but feel that these people are hopelessly trapped mentally. They're trapped in this this analytic paradigm, this very calculative and narrow-minded paradigm, and they can't step back and see the bigger picture. They can't step back and see the forest for the trees. Their entire life is hyper-focused on one tree. And you know what? For some people, that's a perfectly fine lifestyle. We actually need those kinds of people for these very specific and highly difficult tasks. But in many ways, our entire society is hyper-focused left-brain thinking. Look at the law, look at the legal system, look at the political system. It's all hyper-focused left-brain thinking. We don't really have this spiritual, creative, this grounded right-brain thinking in general society. It's attacked, it's sought out, and it's destroyed by psychologically and culturally by greater society, by the average person. And this is a tragedy. This is one of the reasons our society is failing, because we're completely ignoring this more spiritual, this more woo kind of greater scale, greater picture analysis of the world. And we're so consumed with the details. Our face is just jammed into the details forever, and we can't ever lift our heads up and look around. And if anyone in our society does lift their heads up and look around, say through a psychedelic experience, then they are attacked, they are ostracized, they are destroyed, they are fired from their job, their wife divorces them, their life is ruined because they dared to lift their head up and look around. But when you do go through this process of awakening and of achieving wisdom, then you can move towards projects like the social contract, this great reform of this neurotic, messy, corrupt system. You can address the big problems like arcology, and these things strike at the root of so many problems. And when we have this left brain thinking, when we have this hyper-focused thinking, instead of reforming these giant systems, instead of striking at the root of these problems, we try to survive within them. We try to survive and find our way through the rot, through the corruption, through the dystopia, instead of addressing the dystopia, instead of acknowledging the dystopia. We have to psychologically and emotionally acknowledge the dystopia that we are living in before we can actually address it, before we can find solutions for it, before we can rally around those solutions and organize around those solutions. And really, the left brain is also so isolating in many ways. The neurotic nature of the left brain is so very isolating. And then we find ourselves lost in depression and loneliness through this isolation. And we've all been trained to be cogs in the machine instead of given the knowledge to build our own machine. And the irony of this meme here, saying no one is going to give you the education you need to overthrow them, The irony of this meme is that they did exactly that. They told us about the Declaration of Independence, which gives us the right to create a new machine. And they told every single one of us during our formative years about this document, about the contents and history of this document. And all we have to do is carry out those words, is to live those words. And we are able to completely reform the machine and build a new machine in its place. This is fundamentally right brain thinking, because we are stepping back and we are seeing the entire chessboard, all of the pieces. And even it's so meta that it's like redesigning the rules of the game of chess, which is something that the left brain doesn't do. The left brain thinks about the best move. It practices over and over and over again within the rules of the game, within the paradigm it's given. Whereas the right brain can step back and rewrite the entire rules to the game, creating a new game. And so this is the promise of the psychedelic experience, to open one up to the right brain for sometimes, oftentimes, the first time in their life. They've been bred from birth to think in a left brain fashion and to exist in a left brain world. And these chemicals allow communication, instant communication between these two fundamentally different realities. And what we need to do is we need to break down the left brain using chemicals if necessary. And this will bring about true reform, true harmony, true balance, and true wisdom into the 21st century.
Because thought can't go where the roads of language have not been built. So you decide where you want to go, and then you build a linguistic path there. This whole thing with the psychedelic experience, the way cultures lose touch with it is by not being able to say anything about it, And then it eventually gets so unsayable that if you start babbling about it, they throw a net over you and say, oh, well, he became schizophrenic. They had serious delusions, had to be locked up, didn't understand that the universe is, a half sphere on the back of a turtle being carried by a dwarf, or whatever the sanctioned cultural reality is. Our political dilemma and our cultural dilemma is a linguistic dilemma, and we need to take hold of language and build it consciously. Now, so far, the only people who have understood this very thoroughly have been bad people, but it is not intrinsically compromised. It's simply that the sly among us figured this out ahead of all the rest of us. But we can learn from them and can begin to sanction realities that never existed before.